Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to lesson 2 of our full stack MERN course. Today we're going to be connecting MongoDB to our Express application and setting up our first CRUD routes. CRUD stands for create, read, update, delete, and in this lesson we'll be making the routes for our creating and reading. So to get our connection string to our database, we're going to want to go into MongoDB Atlas. You're going to want to create a collection in collections here. And then basically what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to click on connect when you have the name of the connection. You're going to do connect your application, and then we're going to use this code here. We're going to put in the database user and password, which you can configure in database access here. You can create the user, and then you put the database name in this part, and then basically we're going to plug this string into our application. So back in our application, we're going to do mongoose connect, and then we're going to put our connection string in here. Then we're going to do two properties, use new URL parser to true, use unified topology to true, and this is just going to prevent warnings in our console. Alright, so after we paste that stuff in, we're going to do const db equals mongoose dot connection. We're going to do db.on, and if there's an error, we're going to console error bind console connection error. And we're going to end that one, and then we're going to do db.once, and then when it opens the connection, we're going to do anonymous function, and we're going to console.log MongoDB connected. And then what we're going to need to do is basically create our models for our database. So we're going to do const user equals require models user, and then we're going to create this. So inside of our server folder, new folder, models, then we're going to do user.js. Then inside of that, we're going to import mongoose, so const mongoose equals require mongoose. Then we're going to do const user schema equals new mongoose dot and capital S schema. Then we're going to create our user schema in here. Then we're going to do module dot exports equals mongoose dot model and lowercase m on that. We're going to do user from the user schema. Now let's just fill in our schema. So for now we're just going to do a username type string required true. Then we're going to also do a password type string required true. We're also going to set this one to unique, just so that people can't make the same username. And then that'll be all for our database model, so we can close back out of that and go back into our server. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to want to do is create two more endpoints. We're going to go back into our index.js on our server side. We're going to do api.get 1g / create. We're going to do request response. We're going to take our user model and we're going to do user.create. We're going to just hard code this in, so we're going to do username test password test2, and then we're going to do after the brace we're going to do another function or a callback error user, and we're going to arrow function, and if there's an error we're going to res.json the error. Otherwise, we're going to res JSON the user. And then in the second route, what we're going to do is api.get /login. And then we're going to request response. And then inside of here, we're going to do const user equals request query. We're going to res JSON the user. Alright, so let's test this real quick. Let's go into our server folder and we're going to node index here. And we should be able to see it says API listening and it says MongoDB connected. So now let's check this out in our browser with our new routes. Alright, so now we're just going to test the create route where we hard coded the user in. We have it set to unique on the user model, so we can only do this once. So let's check this out. And we can see that it created the user, it generated the ID, username test, password is test2. So now let's just code a route in where we can get the user list. So back in our server, we're going to actually change this from res.json successful endpoint to user.find. We're going to do an empty object there to get all the users. We're going to do error users, and then we're going to do error res.json error, otherwise res.json users. And now this should show us our users, our list of 1 in this case, in our browser. So back in here, we're just going to change the URL from create to / and then we will just see the same user here. And then one other route we're going to test is we're going to do /login, and we're going to do username equals test3 and password equals test2. And we're going to see we get an object with a username and password property from the login route. Since we added these parameters manually inside of our code, we just return this as an object. So we're going to do a quick test on our login route in React real quick. So we're going to go back into our client folder. We're going to go into app.js. For now, we're going to comment out all this stuff, and we're going to put one component in here. We're going to call it login, and we're going to create that. So we're going to import login from, or we're actually going to named import that. So import login from components login. That's supposed to have a G there. Alright, so once we have that, we're going to create our components folder. We're going to create our login. My G key is, I guess, seen better days at this point. We're going to import React from React. We're going to export const login. We're going to do arrow function there. So we're going to create a function first called const handle login equals, and the event object is going to be passed in there as a prop, prevent default. We're going to do const username equals target username value, const password equals target password value. And we'll hold that for now, and then we're also going to reset the stuff at the end. Target username dot value equals blank string, target password value equals blank string. Alright, so now outside of that, we're going to do our return statement. We're going to write our JSX in here. We're just going to do a form. We're going to do on submit equals handle login. We're going to create 2 inputs, type of text, name equals username, placeholder equals username, close that off, input type equals password, name equals password, placeholder equals password. We're going to do button login. Okay, now that we have that written out, we will write this part up. So we're going to do fetch. We're going to do template strings. So backticks. We're going to do HTTP localhost 5000. Man, my 0 button is messy. Alright, /login, which is the route that we just defined, as you should hopefully remember. And then we're going to do question mark username equals, and we're going to do a $ brackets username, and password equals password. we're going to catch the promise dot then res.json, then console log data. Alright, so then once we have that, we're going to open up a new terminal to make sure that our backend stays up, and we're going to run npm start. Alright, so once we have that done and we're in the browser, we'll see our little login form. We're going to go into the console, then we're going to basically type in a user. And it doesn't really matter what you type there. You press that. Oh, let's see real quick what we've done here. Cannot read property password of undefined. You can see that it does end up returning this here. Let's see these errors real quick though. Cannot read property password of undefined. Oh, it's because we wrote target with 2 G's. So let's try this again real quick. Oh, this is the wrong the wrong window here. Alright, so let's do test 2, and we can see that we get our username back. Alright, so now that we've got that out of the way, we're going to basically combine this create route with the login route in a sense, where we take this database and instead of creating in the login route, we're actually going to be finding a user. So we're going to do user.find, and then we're going to put our user object in here, and then we're going to do the user one. Just in case, with naming it might get a little confusing. And then we're going to do the same callback function where we do error user, error res json, error res json user one. And then out of that, we're basically going to just delete this, and then we're going to basically find our user with test and test2. So we're going to go back and we're going to restart our server if it lets me, and then we're going to go back into our browser and test this out. Alright, so back in our form we're going to do test and test2, and if it finds a user it should return it to us, and it does. It returns our database user and confirms that this was found on our backend. So back on our client side, we're going to go into components. We're going to create a new file called signup.js, and inside of that we're going to basically copy this, paste this. We're going to write sign up, handle sign up. Oh. And we're going to do /create instead of /login here. And we're going to change the object here in just a second. So handle sign up, we're going to do sign up. So then inside of our server, we're going to go back there. We're going to do user create. We're going to say if request query, we're going to do const user1 equals request query. We should do the same thing here actually. So let's set that if request.query. We're going to do this stuff, else res json no user query submitted. Let's write. Okay, and then same thing over here. So user create user1, and then right there, and then otherwise res json no user query submitted. So back in our app.js, we're going to do login. We're going to do sign up. We're going to press tab to auto import that there. Some convenience there, and then let's restart our server and go back into our browser. But before we do that, what we're going to want to do is save this file and then go back into our browser. We'll see the login and sign up forms, and let's just test our sign up form. Let's do admin1 password 1, and let's see if that goes through. And we can see it creates the user, it generates the ID, and it returns it to us. So this is all I got for lesson 2. We got our basic CRUD operations, or our CR operations set up for the users. If you like this kind of content, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.